Hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a shit one. What's in my camera bag for 2026? So this year, I upgraded to the PGY-Tech 1Mo2 camera bag. This is the 35 liter version. Honestly, I haven't had a whole lot of experience yet with this bag, but I recently swapped over from my old bag, which is the Vanguard 48BF camera bag. And honestly, it was a pretty solid bag, but there were three things about that bag that eventually added up and made me super frustrated and want to swap to a new camera bag. One of the biggest flaws of that camera bag was that it just straight up opened the wrong way. Camera bags, in my opinion, should open up from the back and not from their face, because the main flaw about it is unless you have a nice luxurious table to put your camera bag on every time you shoot. For those of us that actually go outside and take photos and are out there in the field or the wilderness or the cities or wherever you are, most of the time your camera bag ends up on the ground. You are later gonna have to put the camera bag back on your back, and whatever is on the ground is now on you. So that didn't really make any sense. Second of all, something that was really frustrating me was how the tripod mounted to the bag. If you had a tripod on the old Vanguard bag, it mounted over the zips, which is fine if you're always going to get your tripod out, but in a lot of instances where I didn't actually need my tripod, you had to unclip the tripod and then unzip the bag, grab what you needed out of it, close the bag, and then reattach your tripod just because of its stupid design. That really did my head in. But honestly, it wasn't as frustrating as this minor detail, to be honest. And maybe I'm nitpicking here, but honestly, this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me with this bag. And it was the zips. The Vanguard bag, you really had to wrestle it open, and that was just super frustrating. Like right now, one-handed, just nice easy zips on the side pocket here, just open, close. It's great. You know, I just did that all one-handed. Vanguard bag, I could never do it. Camera bag should be simple and easy to open. I just want to get to my camera equipment. I'm not trying to do a WWE takedown on my bag. So anyway, PGY-Tech bag. I haven't actually had a lot of real world experience with the bag yet, but there is one small flaw that I've already found. It's just where the laptop compartment is. If there was a positive to the Vanguard bag, and one of them was where the laptop compartment was. It was on the side of the bag, and once you finally finished wrestling it open, it was simple and easy enough to go get your laptop, especially if you've got your camera bag in your overhead locker on a plane, for example. You can just hop up, open up the locker, wrestle open your bag, grab your laptop, and that was simple and easy enough. But with this bag, the laptop compartment is at the back, which is pretty big as well. Like you can fit a full-size laptop in there, plus a tablet, which is nice, but it's all held together with this thin, flimsy wire as well. So the whole laptop area seems like a bit of an afterthought on this bag. I mean, to be honest, I don't know where else they could have put it. Maybe at the front section here, but then you'd have to put all the weight onto your laptop, so I get why it's at the back. By the way, I've also tried my absolute best to link everything we're going to talk about in this video in my description. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. Cameras. What am I shooting on? Well, earlier this year, I had my Sony a7R IV, which I bought brand new back in 2019, and I had that camera for 6 years. I never had a single issue with that camera. I took over 300,000 photos, which I know when I first talked about that doesn't sound like a lot, especially to wedding photographers, but it is a lot when you consider what I was doing with that camera, where the majority of those photos were taken in sandstorms, rainstorms, thunderstorms, snowstorms, typhoons. The Sony a7R IV was an incredibly robust camera, and it helped me take a lot of photos that I'm extremely proud of. So I'd like to see a wedding photographer take 300,000 photos of snowstorm wedding shots, and then they can come hit me back, all right? Towards the end of last year, I did find myself wanting a little bit more out of my camera, just in terms of autofocus, really. I was really looking for that next level of autofocus, which a lot of the newer Sony cameras now have, such as the a7 IV, the a7C2, the a9 Mark III, the a1 Mark II, and now the newly released a7 V all have updated autofocus, and most of those cameras having the AI autofocus chip as well. Plus, all those cameras have the fully articulating screen, which is really useful when you need it, and really frustrating when you don't have it. So I ended up giving away my a7R IV to Leon in Germany. Honestly, if I was gonna keep that camera, it just becomes some kind of ornament on the shelf. I probably would have never used it again. So I wanted to give the camera a second life and I gave it away, and Leon from Germany ended up winning the camera. So Leon, if you're watching, I hope it's treating you well. I'm sure that it is, and I hope you're taking lots of cool shots with it. Anyway, at the time when I gave away my camera, I didn't really think about the logistics behind it. So I ended up giving away my A7R IV when I had placed an order for the Sony A1 Mark II, which would then become my new camera. I think the story goes, what happened with the Sony A1 Mark II is that they built the camera with the same production line as the A9 Mark III. They didn't sell as many A9 Mark IIIs as they thought they would, so they shut down a lot of the production and just kept the 1 or 2 production lines. They used those production lines to then make the A1 Mark II, and when they launched it with its crazy 50 megapixel sensor and all the other awesome options that it had, it flew off the shelves and immediately sold out, and they got put on back order because they just could not pump enough A1 Mark IIs out, just bottlenecking the whole production of it. So because of that, there was a 6 to 8 month wait to get your hands on an A1 Mark II because they were in such limited supply. I just couldn't build enough of them, which is crazy to think about. So in the meantime, I was actually using my Sony A7C II, which is my secondary camera. And I love that camera. It's such a good camera, especially for its size and its capability. Still a full frame camera, has all the new AI stuff from Sony. It's a great little pocket rocket camera. And we still use it to this day as a backup camera or a secondary camera on some of our photo shoots. But now, since some time has passed, I do have the A1 Mark II. I've made a few videos on it already. If you haven't checked those out, I'll also link them in the description, and I absolutely love it. I've already said this a few times, and I've definitely glazed the fuck out of that camera this year on the channel, but it is by far the best photography camera I've ever used. In my opinion, I think the best photography camera ever built. Which brings me to this month's giveaway. So because I now have my Sony A1 Mark II, I'm also giving away not 1, but 2 Sony A1 Mark IIs. Each one of the cameras will both come with a 24-70 f2.8 Mark II G Master lens, and they will both come with MacBook Pros as well. And on top of that, we also have a third prize, which is the new Sony a7 IV, again paired with a G Master lens and a MacBook. All of these are going to our members only. If you're a member, you get access to our private Discord, which we run live streams, editing workshops, and monthly photo competitions, which there's even more prizes to win inside of the photo comps inside of the Discord. For January, first place in the photo comp will take home this 50mm f1.2 G Master. Second place takes home this DJI Mini 3, and third place will get some SD cards from ProGrade. As a member, you're also automatically entered into every single giveaway we run, with accumulating entries each month. So if you want to know more details about how to become a member and what's involved, it's all linked in my description. Anyways, let's also talk about the video side of cameras, because there's a photo side and there's a video side. Currently, I'm still rocking my Sony a7S III, still an absolute weapon of a camera, especially at night. I don't really see the point to upgrading to an FX3 or even a ZV-E1, because there's not really anything I'm missing from the a7S III at the moment. Sure, some of the new AI stuff would be nice, but I'm not really feeling like I need it. The autofocus on this camera still does really good. And the a7S III has been the main workhorse for the YouTube channel since 2019. We use it for all of our vlogs, all of our battle videos, and a lot of what you see in the studio as well. So it's a great camera. I can't fault it. It's also been through a similar amount of stuff. My screen is actually rusting. We accidentally dropped it in the ocean at one point. I tried my best to clean it and get as much salt off it as I could, but I think I missed that part and it started to rust, but hey, it's still working. For filming, I also use an iPhone 16 Pro Max to film all my POV videos on, which has since been replaced with the new iPhone 17 Pro Max. And honestly, I can say after testing a multitude of different action cameras, which to be honest, there's so many on the market now and you can't really go wrong with whatever you buy. I haven't found any action camera that does better than the iPhone at nighttime. Plus the DJI mics that we use just plug straight in and it bakes the audio straight into the video file. And then we don't even need to have SD cards, which is also nice. We can just airdrop straight to the computer and then call it a day. So having the whole ecosystem of Apple works pretty nicely for our workflow as well. Let's talk about the heavy shit. Let's talk about glass. What lenses am I using? Now, this is where it gets a bit interesting. And like I say in every camera bag video that I make, at no point is all of this equipment in my bag, on my back, at one point. Previously, I used a 16-35 f2.8 G Master, the Mark I from Sony, but I found that the 20mm for the studio just works a whole lot nicer. Stopping down to f1.4 is just so creamy, it's so buttery. I love the look of it, and 20mm is plenty wide for a studio as well. But saying that, this lens rarely goes outside. It usually is only for filming, specifically in the studio. Next up is the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 Mark II. I absolutely love this lens. To be honest, I'm more of a prime shooter as well. Usually I have a lot of prime lenses when I go out and shoot, but I found with this lens, it usually always comes out with me as well, especially when I'm shooting rolling shots or for photo shoots where I'm not really too sure on what lens is going to work well for a location. And the quality on this thing is incredible, especially compared to the Mark I variant of this lens, which I made a review on some time ago. The quality difference is diabolical. I'm really sorry if anyone with a Mark I lens had to watch that video because yeah, the quality difference is shocking, honestly. It's kind of a curse to watch that video. I'm also currently testing out a 24-70 f2.8 Mark II G Master. Far out, there's gotta be a quicker way to say these lenses, honestly. I'm like running out of breath. The Sony 24-70, the Mark II, so you know which one I'm talking about. In January, I'd like to be able to put those lenses head to head and we'll make a lens comparison. But overall, you can't really go wrong with the 24-70. It's a great lens to have in your setup because there's just so much versatility for them. New to the arsenal is the freshly released 135mm f1.4 lens from Sigma, which has now replaced the infamous 105mm Sigma, which is still a great lens. Don't get me wrong. I think I've taken some of my favorite photos ever on the 105mm from Sigma, but now that the 135mm is out, it's taking me a little bit of time to get used to the 30mm difference. Overall, I'm absolutely loving this lens, especially the new autofocus motors and the new glass they've put in this thing. It is unbelievably sharp. This lens takes a photo like I've never seen from any other prime lens, apart from the 105mm. Plus, the whole look of this lens is super unique as well. I love how they've kept the same shell as the 105mm and just updated it. You cannot not look at this lens. It's a crowd pleaser. You know, everyone wants to look at it, everyone wants to see it, everyone wants to touch it. I'm still talking about a lens here, trust me. If you rock up to a shoot, I reckon you could easily charge 4x your rate if you rock up and put this lens on. Now, also new to the arsenal this year is this absolute beast of a lens, the 50-150 f2 from Sony. I actually spent a bit of time with this lens off camera before I bought it. I loaned one for a few days to test it out, something I highly recommend you doing if you're thinking about buying a new lens. It's always good if you have the opportunity to go down to your local camera store, or even if you're at university or you have friends who are at university, sometimes they have a rental section or a loan section as well, to get a feel for the lens before you throw down some money on it. But I rented this lens and I fell in love with it immediately. It is literally like having a 50mm prime all the way up to 150mm and you're at f2 the whole way. The sharpness on this thing, it's just nuts. And for the size of this lens, it's surprisingly light and pretty easy to handle for what it is. But honestly, this is such a game changer for the market because for me personally, I don't think I'll ever use a 7200 f2.8 again. Being able to pull it back to 50mm and then going all the way down to 150, I never really used the 150 to 200 a whole lot on my 7200s, to be honest. But a lot of the time I was really sort of maxing out between that 110 to 150 range. I'll also be reviewing the 50 to 150 next year as well, plus all of these other G Master lenses we managed to get our hands on too, and I'll be making comparisons with other lenses where I can and try my best to give you as much honest feedback as I can. Even though now that we have the 50 to 150, there's still a lot of Sigma glass that I use, including the Sigma 35 f1.2. Honestly, there is absolutely no need to get the f1.2 lens. If I were you, I would 100% get the f1.4, and the f1.2 lens as well has this weird flaring as well, I've noticed. So a lot of the time when I'm out on shoots and I forget the lens hood, I've actually got to hold my hand on a certain angle to stop it from flaring. So a lot of the time when I'm shooting, even at nighttime from street lamps, it does have a little bit of an overkill of flaring to it. The only reason I have the lens is I got it in a barter deal but if it wasn't for that, I would have definitely chosen an f1.4 lens. And I'm pretty sure the Sigma 35mm f1.4 lens has been Sigma's best selling lens for over a decade now. And I'm sure if you've ever used the 35mm, we can all agree that it just changes your entire perspective on photography and makes you look at shots in a completely different way. Honestly, if you're not really feeling it in photography anymore and you haven't tried a 35mm, just sell some other lenses and swap to a 35mm, and I guarantee you it'll make you excited about photography again. At least that's what it did for me many, many years ago. Being able to test different ranges and lenses, the 35mm just hits that sweet spot of not being too wide, but still wide enough to be able to make every kind of shot look good. I also have this Sigma 105 macro, the f2.8 lens, which I use for a lot of close-up shots. I still take it out every now and again, depending on what I'm shooting. And I also use it to film a whole bunch of juicy B-roll for the YouTube videos as well. The autofocus motors on it, I feel like it's a bit of an older lens now. There's probably newer, better lenses I could get, but honestly, it does the job. And I can get really close to my subject as well. So for what I need it for, that lens does a really good job. And also lastly, I have this 8mm Samyang fisheye, which rarely comes out for a shoot, but is a hell of a lot of fun to use. Not to mention the 24mm Sigma, the 50mm f1.4 G Master, the 85mm Sigma, the 7200 Sigma, and the Sony 7200 Mark I. I mean, half of them are really just sitting on that shelf over there. They're kind of just collecting dust because I don't really shoot on them anymore because, like I said, I've got other options now. My shooting style has changed over time and those lenses just don't really come out to play anymore. All right, that's lenses done. Thank God. That was like half the video. Let's move on to the drone. What am I putting in the air? What am I flying these days? Well, I've still got my DJI Mavic 3 Pro. I've probably had this drone for about 3 years now. And again, it's one of those things where I just don't really need to upgrade. I know the Mavic 4 Pro is out and it kind of just seems like the natural upgrade you do, but at the same time, it's just overkill. I'm not even really squeezing every little bit out of my current drone, so there's no real need to upgrade to the new one. The Mavic 3 Pro does more than enough for what I need it for. The 3 different lenses on it as well is awesome because you have a wide angle, a mid-range, and like a 7200. You can all have that in the sky at the same time. And it's just awesome for filming and photos. It does pretty good at night. It's light enough to travel with. It's fast. It holds up really well in windy conditions. It just really helps me get unique kind of shots that I wouldn't be able to get otherwise. So touch wood as well, as long as I don't crash it. And if it keeps flying, I'll keep using it. In terms of my laptop, I'm currently using a MacBook M3 Max. I've been using this for probably almost 2 years now, with absolutely no compromise. It can run everything I need simultaneously. It doesn't overheat. It doesn't sound like a jet engine trying to take off when I'm exporting a whole bunch of stuff. This is the 16-inch variant, which I've always gone for 16-inch laptops because especially when I'm traveling, it is a big difference to have that space on your screen. And also, like I said before with the iPhones, AirDrop is just amazing. That works really well for our workflow. And also, little fun fact here, the webcam is surprisingly good at taking photos. So if all else fails, it's nice to know I've got another backup camera on me. What about data and storage? What am I doing for that? Well, like I talked about in another video where I go into far more detail about everything, but I'm currently using a NAS drive from Synology, and we also have everything double backed onto Lacy hard drives. So again, everything I've talked about here, tried my best to link everything in the description. So be careful when you go down there, because it's a war zone, all right? You're gonna click that see more, and there's a lot of shit there, all right? So you've been warned. So I guess also what falls under data and storage is SD cards. So what am I using? Well, for the A1 Mark II, I'm currently using the Type A CF cards from ProGrade. These cards, they keep cool for longer, they cool down faster, and they shoot for a lot longer. They buffer a lot quicker, and usually the lifespan of CF cards are usually better. But when you change to a CF card from an SD card, you also need separate readers, which is something you cannot forget when you're traveling as well, because otherwise you're screwed. So those have been really good for the A1 Mark II. They make a lot of sense for that camera since it shoots at crazy speeds. For my video stuff as well, I'm also using a Sony CF card, and we have backup Sony Tough cards and ProGrade cards as well. Both the Sony Tough cards and the ProGrade cards have been great. I don't have any complaints about either of them. Moving on to my tripod. I use a Manfrotto B3 tripod. I've been on that system for probably a decade now. Actually, one of the first tripods, my first proper tripod I ever got was a Manfrotto B3. And over time, I've collected so many of the tripod mounts that I thought it kind of just makes sense to stay on the tripod system. But I'll be completely honest, the tripod rarely comes out with me these days. The amount of stabilization we have from modern cameras pretty much means that unless it's for a very specific shot I have in mind, the tripod rarely gets used. It more or less gets used for filming B-roll here in the studio. If I am out and I forget my tripod, you can always make a tripod. A shoe tripod, the infamous bag tripod. Although I do love the old urban tripod or the ye old faithful Mother Nature tripod. If I was to recommend one, it would be the Manfrotto B3. So for audio, I have 3 main microphones that we use in rotation. The first one being the most obvious, which is the Sennheiser. This is the MHK416 microphone. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that's right. I mean, this is what you're listening to right now. This is what's been the audio workhorse for the past year and a bit on the channel. I absolutely love this thing. It's all wireless. It's battery operated, which is great if you're doing vox pops on the street or something, which I've never done and probably never will do. But if you want to do that, you could. And it just all goes into a transmitter on top of the camera that plugs straight in and bakes everything into the audio onto your SD card. So that works really well for me and the audio quality is great. So no complaints there. For all of our battle videos and for most of the vlogs nowadays as well, we use the DJI Mic 2s. These things are just bulletproof. They always work. The battery on them is great. They just make the most sense for what we're filming nowadays. But when we're not using those for whatever reason and we need a shotgun mic, I use the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus, which I've also had for a number of years now. And it's probably one of my favorite types of shotgun mics because not only does it turn on and off with your camera, it also charges with your camera as well. So I think I literally need to charge that microphone maybe once a year. I also may as well give you a little bit of a desk tour as well. We have now moved into a new space. Lamont and I have separate desks, which is super nice. So I may as well walk you through them. And also fun fact, the desks, the entire studio and Lamont can all be folded up and put into my camera bag, but rarely comes out with us. For the desks, both me and Lamont, we just got these cheap and nasty desks from IKEA. They do the job. I just needed a desk and a standing desk at that. I got a little laptop stand because I'm still yet to put my monitor. I'm gonna wall mount the monitor or potentially get a monitor arm. I also use the Apple mouse and Apple keyboard. I also have this beautiful, luxurious chair from Razer. Keeps my posture in good shape while I'm editing. It has a multitude of different adjustments and it's extremely comfortable. And my favorite part of it is it makes me feel like a Twitch streamer with that little pillow back there. I do love this chair. And also it just looks sick. Just look at it. Also new from Razer is this Thunderbolt 5 dock. If you don't know what it is, it's basically just a 1 cable solution for my desk. I plug 1 cable into my MacBook and instantly I've got my monitors when I get my monitor, but I'll have monitors, hard drives, SD reader, Ethernet, audio, keyboard, mouse, everything connected and charging at the same time. For editing days, it means I sit down, plug in 1 cable and I'm ready to work in about 5 seconds. Also, I can have external hard drives hooked up to it, wired internet, and it keeps my desk just super clean and neat from all the cables and stuff, which we all love. It's definitely not something I use when I'm out and about and on the move, but if you use your laptop as your main workstation when you're at home, like I do, then this is super helpful. And then to top it all off, everything sits on this custom mouse pad that Lamont got me for my birthday. I also use these Godox SL60W lights as well. Again, cheap and nasty lights from Amazon, but they were some of the first lights I ever bought when I started making YouTube videos. You get a little remote, which you can channel all your lights to, and you can also change the white balance as well. I've got this newer C stand as well, which the light sits on. And then on top of that, I also have this newer grip arm as well, which my camera sits on. And I sort of made a bit of a Frankenstein setup here because I was actually looking for a filming tripod, but I couldn't really find anything that was, I don't know, just fairly priced. And honestly, the height that I needed for me to film at. So what it is the newer grip arm, like I said, which is mounted to the C stand. And I also mounted a Manfrotto B3 tripod head to it. So I can always keep my camera on the same mount, which is really handy for me because when I unclip this camera and then I want to go over to the other desk and film some B-roll on the other tripod, I can just clip it straight onto that. I'm lazy, man. I'm the laziest content creator you're ever going to see. So if it can make my life even just a little bit easier, I'll take it. It kind of looks pretty sick and obviously way cheaper than trying to buy a filming tripod. Let's also talk about Lamont's desk as well, because Why the fuck not? He uses a Philips, I'm gonna butcher all of these names.
So he did end up butchering every name. So why don't I tell you what's on my desk? I'd say my setup at first glance is pretty simple. I'll sometimes switch between using my 16-inch M3 Max MacBook Pro, or I'm using my PC depending on whether the project was started overseas or not. Firstly, I've got this massive SteelSeries QCK3XL mousepad. Since I mainly play on a low mouse sensitivity, I love having the space to swing my arm around. The monitor is a Philips Evnia 34-inch ultra-wide. It's a 1440p OLED panel with 175Hz refresh rate. The color accuracy is okay at best, but it's good enough for what I do. And what really sold me on this monitor was the fast refresh rate, low latency, and the USB-C port that charges my MacBook as well. It's kind of like a hybrid work/gaming monitor, which suits my needs pretty well. It's also attached to a heavy-duty monitor arm from Desky, but I bought off Facebook Marketplace because I'm not paying that for a monitor arm. As for the keyboard, it's the Project Optimum Wooting 60HE Plus Collab. I love the super clean aesthetic it has, and since it's got super low latency Hall effect switches, it kind of makes this the Koenigsegg's of gaming keyboards. I know a lot of people probably aren't a big fan of 60% keyboard layouts, especially when it comes to work, but since I've worked on laptops for majority of my life, I'm pretty much used to the layout. For my mouse, I recently got the WL Mouse Beast X Mini for gaming. It's super lightweight at only 36 grams, but because the battery life on it is shite, I still use my old Logitech G Pro X Superlight from my old gaming setup for my day-to-day editing and workflow. I also use the Rode Procaster microphone, not this one, this one's the Sennheiser, which is connected to the old Rodecaster Pro that's been repurposed from the old podcast setup we had. I also use the AirPods Max for work and gaming. The noise cancellation and sound quality is amazing, but sometimes the Bluetooth connection between this and my PC is a bit jank. So if you've got any good recommendations for wireless gaming headsets, I'm all ears. Now for probably the most interesting part of my setup, the PC. This is the Ncase M2, and inside is the Asus Astral 5080 GPU, AMD 7800X3D CPU, 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM from G.Skill, and 4 terabytes of SSD storage. I honestly love the way this thing looks. It kind of reminds me of the Mac Pro where it has that cheese grater panel, and it's so satisfying seeing this massive 5080 GPU fit into this tiny case like a glove. This was my first time building a PC, so looking back, I wish I got the 9800X3D CPU so it has better headroom for editing. Honestly, it runs well, the thermals are great, it looks cool, I'm super happy with the build. And this PC does fit into a backpack. So this is probably a perfect segue for Mike to come back in.
We're not done yet. Don't you dare click off yet. What really makes a camera bag is all the random shit you have inside of it. I mean, this isn't technically in my bag, but the camera charger I use is the Honeywell Cube 2 charger. I love these things. They're so good. Also in my camera bag, there's polarizers. I have so many polarizing filters. It's not even funny. I like to have a polarizer for every lens I'm shooting on instead of using step-up rings. Because when I'm out shooting, especially if it's at sunset or blue hour, for example, literally every second counts. And if you're stuck there trying to twist on and off polarizers and step-up rings and stuff, you're just wasting time. You're potentially missing shots. I mainly use a mix of ProMaster, Nissi, or Hoya, depending on who's got the best deal. I use a Cineloop wrist strap as well, which also kind of rarely comes out with me, but it is really handy for rolling shots. I now pretty much always use a wrist strap when I take my rolling photos. Not that I've ever dropped a camera or ever will, but it's sort of just nice to have that security. For headphones, I'm using the AirPod 3 Pros. I love these things, they're amazing. The noise cancellation is amazing. The live translating feature is now really incredible, really cool thing to be able to test out. I also keep a set of wired headphones in my bag at all times because you never know, sometimes, things run out of battery or, things get lost, or even on the airplane, sometimes you can't use, your AirPods if you don't have anything else you're watching on and just want to watch a movie on the plane. I can plug these headphones in with a universal jack into the airplane seat as well. So little travel tip there as well. I also have these walkie-talkies. These are actually kids' toys, but they work really well for what they are. Again, cheap and nasty. I'm just outing myself in this video. I'm just a fucking cheapskate. What can I say? But the range on them is surprisingly great. They have 40 channels on there. They take AAA batteries. They're really great, especially when you're orchestrating really random photos or you're somewhere where phone reception isn't. The walkie-talkies have never let me down. I also use this Manfrotto vlog tripod. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but that's what I use when we take the big camera out for all the vlogging stuff. We whack it on this Manfrotto little vlog tripod. I also have this Fat Gecko suction mount. Absolutely love the name of that. Honestly, with how good Osmo Pockets are these days and Osmo Actions, it kind of sits there and collects dust as well, but I do have it in case it is needed. Filming harness. I use this filming harness that I actually got from Home Depot in Utah, out of all places. It's just a regular roofing harness, and I just ended up bringing it home in my suitcase. Don't ask me how I did it, I just did it. All right. You gotta make sure you stay safe when you're taking rolling shots, because trust me, you will not be able to take good photos if you fall out and get squished by a car. I also use this Satechi SD reader. It's kind of expensive, but at the same time, I've had this reader for like maybe 6 or 7 years now, and it's never once not worked. So I guess that's a testament to its quality. You get what you pay for. Then this is where it just starts to get super random. We've got antihistamines, Panadol, just whatever. You got a headache, you're feeling sick, you got hay fever, some Band-Aids, some sleeping pills, some gum, wired headphones, a deck. Oh fuck, I almost dropped them all. A deck of cards, and then some tape and bandages, because you never know if you're gonna cut yourself. I also have an air tag in here as well, which is nice. Just to always know where your bag is, or check your hotel room if you've been robbed. I'm speaking from experience. Also just have some spare cables and some stickers and a Sharpie. I don't know where if I showed you the lens cleaning stuff, but some lens cleaning stuff and a dust puffer. That's what's in my bag for 2026, plus everything else we use to run the show here. Keep having yourself a shit one. Happy New Year. I'm wishing you all the best for 2026. Go out there, smash your goals, take some awesome photos for me, and I will see you in the new year.